The subject line was innocuous enough. Your honeymoon awaits. I clicked it open, a smile tugging at my lips. Sophia and I had been talking about a belated honeymoon for months, a chance to escape the daily grind and reconnect after a hectic year. The Maldives. Perfect. Just what we needed. Then I saw the details. The reservation dates. 2 weeks from now. Impossible. I had a major project deadline, a conference I couldn't miss. Had Sophia booked it without me? A wave of annoyance, quickly followed by a prickle of unease, washed over me. My eyes scanned the reservation details, each line a hammer blow to my gut. Guest names: Sophia Reed and Mark Olson. Mark Olson, Sophia's colleague, the one with the smarmy grin and the wandering eyes. The one I'd warned her about. The one she'd dismissed with a roll of her eyes and a "don't be silly, Danny." And then, the final gut punch. Payment method: Daniel and Sophia Reed joint account. My name, my money, funding my wife's romantic getaway with another man. The audacity was breathtaking. The blood drained from my face, a cold sweat prickling my skin. The world tilted on its axis, the familiar comfort of my office suddenly suffocating. Betrayal, humiliation, rage. The emotions swirled within me, a toxic cocktail threatening to overwhelm my senses. How could she? After 5 years of marriage, 5 years of what I thought was a loving, trusting partnership. Had it all been a lie? Was I that blind, that naive? The questions clawed at my mind, each one a fresh wound to my pride, my self-worth, my very sense of reality. Had I been a fool, oblivious to the signs, the whispers, the subtle shifts in her behavior? Or had she been a master manipulator, weaving a web of deceit so intricate that I'd been ensnared without even realizing it? No, this wasn't about self-blame. This was about Sophia, about her betrayal, her audacity, her utter disregard for my feelings, my trust, my very existence. The anger hardened within me, a cold, calculating rage that eclipsed the hurt, the confusion, the disbelief. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. Sophia might have thought she could get away with this, but she had underestimated me. She had underestimated the depths of my resolve, the strength of my will, the icy fury that now burned within me. The Maldives, a honeymoon suite, Mark Olson. It was all a gift-wrapped opportunity for revenge, served on a silver platter with a side of poetic justice. Sophia wanted a honeymoon, she'd get one, but not the one she'd planned, and not with the man she'd expected. The mask was surprisingly easy to slip on. A smile here, a casual touch there, a "how was your day, honey?" delivered with just the right amount of feigned concern. Sophia, bless her oblivious heart, suspected nothing. She was too wrapped up in her own little world of clandestine meetings and whispered phone calls to notice the subtle shift in my demeanor, the flicker of detachment in my eyes, the icy resolve that hardened my jaw. The charade was almost enjoyable. Watching her flit around the apartment, her excitement growing with each passing day, her conversations peppered with veiled references to exciting plans and much-needed getaways. It was like watching a particularly inept performance in a poorly written play. And I, the audience of one, had a front-row seat to the unfolding drama. But beneath the surface, the anger simmered, a constant undercurrent to my carefully constructed facade. Each smile felt like a betrayal, each touch a violation. The hurt was still there, a dull ache in the pit of my stomach, a reminder of the trust she had shattered, the love she had so carelessly discarded. Yet, the hurt was slowly being eclipsed by a colder, more calculating emotion. Revenge. It wasn't about petty payback, about inflicting pain for pain's sake. It was about justice, about restoring the balance, about teaching Sophia a lesson she wouldn't soon forget. The financial maneuvering was surprisingly straightforward. Years of shared accounts and blind trust had given me access to the kingdom, and I, the newly appointed king of spite, was not about to let this opportunity slip through my fingers. A few discreet phone calls, some carefully worded instructions to my financial advisor, and the assets began to shift, like tectonic plates realigning. ensuring that Sophia's access to our funds was slowly but surely eroded. "Just a little restructuring, darling," I'd murmured one evening, watching her eyes glaze over as I explained some fabricated investment strategy. "Diversifying our portfolio, minimizing risk, you know the drill." She'd nodded absently, her mind clearly elsewhere. I'd smiled, a predator's smile, savoring the irony of the situation. She was so focused on her own little game, so confident in her ability to deceive, that she hadn't even noticed the ground shifting beneath her feet. The anticipation was delicious, a slow burn that fueled my every action. I imagined her face when she realized the extent of my revenge, the shock, the disbelief, the dawning realization that she had underestimated me, misjudged my resolve, and ultimately sealed her own fate. The Maldives, a honeymoon suite, Mark Olson. It was all falling into place, a perfectly orchestrated symphony of payback, a masterpiece of poetic justice. Sophia wanted a romantic getaway? She'd get one, but not the one she'd planned, and certainly not with the man she'd expected. The digital age, for all its flaws, had its advantages. Sophia, in her haste to cover her tracks, had left a trail of breadcrumbs, a digital tapestry of deceit woven through text messages, emails, and social media posts. A few carefully placed keyloggers, a discreet consultation with a tech-savvy friend, and the floodgates opened. "You wouldn't believe this shit, Danny." Ben, my tech wizard buddy, chuckled, his fingers flying across the keyboard, his screen illuminating his face with an eerie glow. "She's been using your cloud account to store all their lovey-dovey photos. Talk about adding insult to injury." I gritted my teeth, the images flashing across the screen, a fresh assault on my senses. Sophia, radiant and carefree in the arms of another man. Candlelit dinners, stolen weekends, whispered endearments, a parallel life meticulously documented, a constant reminder of my own obliviousness. But the digital trail was just the beginning. A discreet consultation with a private investigator, a man whose world weariness was matched only by his efficiency, revealed a pattern of deception that ran deeper than I had imagined. "Your wife has been quite busy, Mr. Reed," he reported, his voice dry as dust. "Lunchtime rendezvous, late-night hotel stays, even a weekend getaway to a secluded cabin in the woods. Seems Mr. Olson has a penchant for the romantic gesture." Romantic gestures funded by my bank account, I thought bitterly, the anger simmering beneath the surface. But the evidence wasn't just about confirming Sophia's infidelity. It was about building a case, a fortress of irrefutable proof that would ensure her downfall. "Mr. Reed," my lawyer, Mr. Evans, said, his voice smooth and reassuring. "The prenuptial agreement, while comprehensive, can always be adjusted. A few subtle clauses here and there, a strategic rephrasing of certain terms, and we can ensure that Mrs. Reed's indiscretions have, financial consequences." I nodded, a cold satisfaction settling in my gut. Sophia might have thought she was playing a clever game, but she was an amateur compared to the team I had assembled. The digital trail, the private investigator's report, the lawyer's carefully crafted legal maneuvers. It was all coming together, a perfectly orchestrated symphony of revenge. Each piece of evidence, each revelation, deepened the sense of betrayal, the anger hardening into a steely resolve. Sophia had not only broken my heart, she had shattered my trust, trampled on my loyalty, and treated me like a fool. But the fool, it seemed, was about to have the last laugh. The Maldives, a honeymoon suite. Mark Olson. It was all a setup, a carefully laid trap, a gift-wrapped opportunity for payback. Sophia wanted a romantic getaway? She'd get one, but not the one she'd planned. And certainly not with the man she'd expected. The game was on, and I, the wronged husband, was holding all the cards. Time, the ultimate weapon in the arsenal of revenge, stretched on, each tick of the clock a taut string in the symphony of my carefully orchestrated plan. Weeks bled into months, the seasons shifting from the vibrant hues of summer to the muted tones of autumn, mirroring the slow, deliberate erosion of Sophia's blissful ignorance. I played the role of the devoted husband with an Oscar-worthy performance. Dinners cooked, laundry folded, affectionate gestures delivered with a chilling detachment that only I was privy to. Sophia, basking in the afterglow of her illicit affair, saw nothing amiss. Her guard was down, her complacency a testament to her misplaced trust, her obliviousness to the storm brewing beneath the surface. "You've been so attentive lately, darling," she'd purr, her eyes sparkling with a satisfaction that sent a shiver of disgust down my spine. "It's like we're newlyweds again." "Just trying to make up for lost time, sweetheart," I'd reply, my voice smooth as silk, the irony of my words a bitter taste on my tongue. I watched her, a predator studying its prey, noting the subtle shifts in her behavior, the growing confidence in her ability to deceive, the complete lack of awareness of the precariousness of her situation. She was walking a tightrope, blissfully unaware that I'd cut the safety net, leaving her teetering on the brink of a devastating fall. The waiting game was a test of patience, a delicate dance between maintaining the facade and fueling the fire of my revenge. But with each passing day, with each carefully crafted conversation, with each subtle manipulation, the satisfaction grew, the anticipation intensified. Sophia's misplaced trust, her arrogance, her obliviousness, it was all fuel to the fire, a guarantee that when the time came, the payback would be spectacular. The air crackled with a tension that only I could perceive. Sophia, oblivious to the impending storm, flitted around the apartment, her suitcase overflowing with designer swimwear and overpriced sunscreen. The Maldives, she'd declared, required a certain level of sartorial elegance, even on the beach. I watched her, a predator savoring the last moments of its prey's ignorance, a grim smile playing on my lips. My phone calls were brief, efficient, the final pieces falling into place with the satisfying click of a well-oiled machine. The banker, his voice hushed with a mix of professional discretion and morbid curiosity, confirmed the account freeze. The lawyer, his tone laced with a hint of sadistic glee, assured me that the revised prenuptial agreement was ironclad. And the travel agent, bless her innocent soul, chirped enthusiastically about the unforgettable honeymoon experience that awaited Mrs. Reed and her companion. "Have a wonderful trip, Sophia," I said, my voice dripping with a faux sincerity that would have made an Oscar nominee proud. "I've even arranged a little surprise for you at the resort. Consider it a parting gift." She beamed, her eyes sparkling with an anticipation that was almost painful to witness. "Oh, Danny, you're the best. I can't wait to see what it is." "Neither can I, darling," I thought, the anticipation bubbling within me, a potent cocktail of vindication and schadenfreude. The mask I had worn for months, the charade of the devoted husband, was about to be ripped away, revealing the cold, calculating fury that had simmered beneath the surface. As I watched her pack, her excitement palpable, her obliviousness almost comical, I couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had led us to this moment. The betrayal, the hurt, the anger. It had all been a crucible, forging a new me, a man I barely recognized, a man capable of a ruthlessness I hadn't known I possessed. But this wasn't just about revenge. It was about justice, about reclaiming my power, my dignity, my self-worth. Sophia had made her choice, and now she was about to face the consequences. The Maldives, the honeymoon suite, Mark Olson. It was all a stage, a carefully constructed set for her downfall. She had wanted a romantic getaway, a chance to escape reality with her lover. And she would get it, but not the escape she had envisioned. The anticipation was a heady drug, coursing through my veins, fueling my every action. Tomorrow, the mask would come off, the truth would be revealed, and Sophia would learn that betrayal had a price she was about to pay in full. The boarding announcement echoed through the terminal, a jarring interruption to Sophia's blissful daydreams of turquoise waters and secluded beaches. She reached for Mark's hand, her fingers entwining with his, a giddy excitement bubbling within her. This was it, the escape she had craved, the adventure she had envisioned, the The beginning of a new life with the man she... The shrill ringing of her phone shattered the moment, a discordant note in the symphony of her carefully orchestrated happiness. Mark's name flashed across the screen, a momentary flicker of annoyance crossing her face. Couldn't he wait a few hours? "Mark, darling," she cooed, her voice laced with a playful impatience. "Can't this wait until we're on the plane? I'm about to board." "Sophia." Mark's voice was tight, strained, a stark contrast to his usual playful banter. "We have a problem, a big problem." Sophia's smile faltered, a knot of unease tightening in her stomach. "What is it, Mark? What's wrong?" "The hotel," he stammered, his voice laced with panic. They canceled our reservation, said there was a payment issue." Sophia's blood ran cold. A payment issue? But she had used their joint account, the one she and Daniel shared. Surely there couldn't be a problem with the funds. "What do you mean, a payment issue?" she demanded, her voice rising with a panic she could no longer conceal. "I used our account. There's plenty of money there." "I don't know, Sophia," Mark replied, his voice laced with frustration. "They said the account was frozen. They wouldn't give me any more details." Frozen? Sophia's mind raced, the implications of Mark's words hitting her like a tidal wave. Frozen. Daniel. The realization dawned, a chilling epiphany that shattered her carefully constructed facade of blissful ignorance. "Daniel," she hissed, her voice laced with a venomous fury. "That bastard, he knows." "Knows what?" Mark asked, his voice laced with confusion. "He knows about us," she spat, her voice trembling with a mixture of anger and fear. "He knows about the trip, about the hotel, about everything. He's frozen the accounts. He's taking revenge." "Revenge?" Mark echoed, his voice rising with disbelief. "But why? How?" Sophia, her mind reeling, could only offer a string of incoherent accusations, her words a desperate attempt to make sense of the chaos that was engulfing her. The boarding announcement echoed again, a mocking reminder of the dream that was slipping through her fingers. The Maldives, the honeymoon suite, the escape she had craved. It was all gone, replaced by a chilling reality of betrayal, humiliation, and a growing sense of dread. Daniel, the man she had underestimated, the husband she had betrayed, had played the ultimate game of revenge. And she, the queen of deceit, had been checkmated. The sterile environment of the airport lounge, with its harsh fluorescent lights and uncomfortable plastic chairs, was a fitting backdrop for Sophia's rapidly deteriorating composure. Gone was the carefree traveler, the woman with a secret smile and a suitcase full of dreams. In her place was a cornered animal, her eyes darting nervously, her fingers trembling as she clutched her phone, the lifeline to the man she had so carelessly betrayed. "Daniel," she hissed, her voice laced with a venomous fury that barely masked the tremor of fear. "What have you done?" His voice, when it came, was a study in contrasts. Calm, measured, laced with an icy detachment that sent a shiver down her spine. "Done. I believe the appropriate term is rectified, Sophia. Rectified a situation that you, in your infinite wisdom, saw fit to create." "You froze the accounts," she accused, her voice rising with indignation. "You canceled the honeymoon suite. You ruined everything." "Ruined," he echoed, a hint of amusement coloring his tone. "I believe the word you're looking for is exposed, Sophia. Exposed your lies, your deceit, your utter disregard for our marriage, our vows, our life together. It was just a fling," she protested, her voice cracking with a desperation she couldn't conceal. "A silly mistake. It meant nothing." "Nothing," he scoffed, the amusement gone, replaced by a raw anger that resonated through the phone. "Nothing? You booked a honeymoon suite in my name with another man using our joint account? And you call that nothing?" He paused, the silence amplifying the weight of his words, the shame burning in Sophia's chest. "I have the emails, Sophia," he continued, his voice a steady drumbeat of condemnation. "The text messages, the photos, the hotel reservations. The cabin in the woods, the lunchtime rendezvous, every lie, every betrayal meticulously documented. Sophia's carefully constructed facade crumbled, the weight of his accusations crushing her spirit. She had underestimated him, misjudged his resolve, blinded by her own arrogance and the intoxicating thrill of her illicit affair. "Daniel, please," she pleaded, her voice cracking with a remorse that felt as hollow as her dreams. "I'm sorry. I made a mistake. I didn't mean to hurt you." "Hurt me," he repeated, his voice laced with a bitter irony. "You didn't just hurt me, Sophia. You shattered me. You took everything we had, everything we built together, and you threw it away for a cheap thrill, a fleeting moment of passion with a man who wouldn't know loyalty if it hit him in the face." Sophia's tears flowed freely now, a torrent of regret and self-recrimination. She had been a fool, blinded by the glitter, the excitement, the illusion of a life less ordinary. And in her pursuit of passion, she had sacrificed everything: her marriage, her security, her self-respect. I don't know what to say," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "There's nothing left to say, Sophia," he replied, his voice cold and final. "The game is over. You lost." The sterile hum of the airport, the hurried footsteps of travelers, the announcements echoing through the terminal. It all faded into a blurry background noise as Sophia sank onto a cold plastic chair, the weight of her situation crushing her like a physical burden. Mark, her supposed lover, her co-conspirator in this ill-conceived adventure, had vanished. A hasty phone call, a mumbled excuse about a work emergency, and he was gone, leaving her stranded, alone, and facing the consequences of her actions. The tears came then, a torrent of self-pity and regret, a belated acknowledgement of the damage she had wrought. She had gambled everything, her marriage, her security, her reputation, on a fleeting infatuation, a misguided pursuit of passion that had left her with nothing but ashes. Daniel's words echoed in her mind, each accusation a hammer blow to her carefully constructed facade of self-deception. "Exposed," he had said, and exposed she was, stripped bare of her lies, her manipulations, her carefully curated image of the perfect wife. The shame was a burning ember in her gut, a searing indictment of her choices, her values, her very identity. She had betrayed the man who loved her, the man who had trusted her, the man who had built a life with her, a life she had so carelessly discarded for a cheap thrill, a fleeting moment of excitement. And for what? For a man who had abandoned her at the first sign of trouble, a man whose love was as shallow as his promises, a man who wouldn't know loyalty if it hit him in the face. The realization was a bitter pill to swallow, a harsh dose of reality that cut through the fog of her self-deception. She had been a fool, a spoiled, entitled fool, blinded by the glitter, the excitement, the illusion of a life less ordinary. She had craved the passion, the romance, the grand gestures, while dismissing the quiet comfort of a love that had been steadfast, dependable, true. Daniel, with his practicality, his stability, his unwavering loyalty, he had been the anchor in her storm, the rock on which she had built her life. And she, in her insatiable hunger for more, had cast him aside, like a worn-out garment, no longer worthy of her attention, her affection, her respect. But Daniel, it seemed, was not the man she had thought he was. Beneath the quiet exterior, the unassuming demeanor lay a core of steel, a cunning she had never suspected, a resolve that had taken her completely by surprise. He had played the long game, the patient predator, waiting for the opportune moment to strike, to expose her, to bring her down. And he had succeeded, spectacularly. Sophia, the queen of deceit, had been outmaneuvered, outsmarted, and ultimately defeated. The Maldives, the honeymoon suite, the escape she had craved. It was all a cruel joke, a meticulously orchestrated humiliation that had left her stranded, alone, and facing the consequences of her actions. As the realization of her situation sank in, The self-pity began to recede, replaced by a grudging admiration for Daniel's cunning, his patience, his ability to turn the tables on her so completely. And beneath the anger, the humiliation, the regret, a flicker of understanding emerged, a dawning awareness of the pain she had caused, the trust she had broken, the love she had thrown away. The journey ahead was uncertain, the path to redemption long and arduous. But in the quiet solitude of her defeat, Sophia finally saw the truth, the reality of her choices, the consequences of her actions. And with that realization, a glimmer of hope emerged, a fragile spark in the darkness of her despair. The apartment, once a sanctuary of shared dreams and comfortable routines, now felt like a tomb, empty, silent, a stark reminder of the life she had so carelessly thrown away. Sophia wandered through the rooms, her footsteps echoing in the hollow spaces, her touch lingering on the furniture, the photographs, the remnants of a past that now seemed as distant as a fading dream. The divorce proceedings were swift, brutal, a legal dissection of a marriage that had died long before the papers were signed. Mr. Evans, Daniel's lawyer, was a shark in a well-tailored suit, his words precise, his smile predatory as he outlined the terms of their separation. "Mrs. Reed," he'd said, his voice smooth as silk, "the prenuptial agreement, as you are no doubt aware, is quite clear on the matter of infidelity. Your indiscretions, shall we say, have rendered it null and void. You will be receiving no financial support, no alimony, no share of the marital assets." Sophia, her eyes fixed on the polished surface of his mahogany desk, could only nod dumbly, the implications of his words hitting her with the force of a physical blow. She had gambled and lost, her pursuit of passion leaving her with nothing but the bitter taste of regret and a mountain of debt. But what about my things?" she stammered, her voice barely a whisper. "My clothes, my jewelry, my—" "Those, Mrs. Reed," Mr. Evans interrupted, his smile widening, "are considered marital assets, and as per the agreement, they now belong to Mr. Reed." He handed her a document, a single sheet of paper that felt as heavy as a tombstone. "Sign here, please," he said, his voice devoid of emotion. "And let us be done with this unpleasant business." Sophia signed, her hand trembling, her heart sinking with each stroke of the pen. She was adrift, cast out from the life she had known, the security she had taken for granted, the comfort she had so carelessly discarded. The world, once a playground of endless possibilities, now loomed before her, a daunting landscape of uncertainty and struggle. The despair was a suffocating weight, a dark cloud that followed her every step. She had lost everything, her husband, her home, her financial security, her reputation. She was alone, abandoned, facing a future she had never imagined, a future where she had to rely on her own wits, her own resources, her own strength. But strength, she realized, was not something she had cultivated. She had always relied on others, her parents, her brother, her husband, to provide for her, to protect her, to shield her from the harsh realities of the world. Now she was exposed, vulnerable, forced to confront the consequences of her choices, the price of her entitlement, the bitter harvest of her own self-deception. The road ahead was long and arduous, the path to redemption uncertain, but in the depths of her despair, a flicker of defiance ignited, a spark of determination that refused to be extinguished. She had made mistakes, yes, but she was not defined by them. She had fallen, but she would rise again. She had lost everything, but she still had herself, and that, she realized, was the most valuable asset of all. The art gallery, with its hushed ambiance and pretentious air, was the last place Sophia expected to encounter Daniel. He stood across the room, a glass of champagne in his hand, his laughter echoing through the space, a stark contrast to the haunted figure she remembered from their last phone call. He looked good, better than good. He looked happy, free. A wave of longing, a bittersweet ache for the life they had shared washed over her. She had to talk to him, to explain, to apologize, to salvage some semblance of a relationship, even if it was just friendship. "Daniel," she said, her voice barely a whisper as she approached him, her heart pounding with a mixture of hope and trepidation. He turned, his smile fading as he recognized her. The amusement in his eyes was gone, replaced by a cool detachment that sent a shiver down her spine. "Sophia," he acknowledged, his voice carefully neutral. "Fancy meeting you here." I wanted to apologize," she stammered, her carefully rehearsed words dissolving into a jumble of emotions. "For everything. For the way I treated you, for the Maldives, for—" "Apologies are a bit belated, don't you think?" he interrupted, his voice laced with a sardonic amusement that stung more than any accusation. "You had your chance, Sophia. You made your choice. But I made a mistake," she pleaded, her voice cracking with a desperation she could no longer conceal. "I was foolish, selfish, blind. I didn't realize what I had until it was gone." "And what did you have, Sophia?" he asked, his voice softening slightly, a hint of sadness replacing the mockery. "A comfortable life? A loving husband? A secure future? Those were the things you threw away for a fleeting infatuation? A cheap thrill?" "I know," she whispered, her eyes welling up with tears. "And I regret it. Every single day. I miss you, Daniel. I miss our life together." He studied her for a moment, his gaze unwavering, his expression unreadable. Then, a slow smile spread across his face, a smile that held no warmth, no forgiveness, only a cold, hard finality. "You miss the life, Sophia?" he said, his voice devoid of emotion. "Not me. You miss the comfort, the security, the stability. But those things are gone. You made your bed, and now you have to lie in it." Sophia's last vestiges of hope crumbled, the weight of his words crushing her spirit. She had been a fool, and now she was paying the price. The Maldives, the honeymoon suite, the dreams of a new life. It had all been a mirage, a cruel illusion that had shattered against the harsh reality of her own actions. I understand," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Good," he said, his tone curt and dismissive. "Then we have nothing more to say to each other." He turned and walked away, his laughter echoing through the gallery, a mocking reminder of the happiness she had lost, the life she had destroyed. Sophia watched him go, her heart aching with a regret that was as profound as it was futile. She was alone now, adrift in a world that no longer welcomed her, a world where she had to face the consequences of her choices, the bitter harvest of her own self-deception. The city lights twinkled below, a shimmering tapestry of ambition and possibility. I stood on the balcony of my new apartment, a glass of aged scotch warming my hand, the cool night air a welcome contrast to the warmth that radiated from within. Life was good. Better than good. It was fulfilling. My career had taken off, the promotion a stepping stone to a series of successes that had surprised even me. The challenges were stimulating, the rewards tangible, the satisfaction of building something meaningful a constant source of motivation. The social invitations were plentiful, the company diverse and engaging, the friendships genuine and supportive. And then there was Olivia. Not my sister, but a woman whose name, ironically, echoed a past I had finally laid to rest. A woman whose laughter was a melody, whose intelligence was a spark, whose warmth was a comforting embrace. A woman who valued honesty, loyalty, and the quiet comfort of a shared life. We had met at a charity gala, of all places, the irony not lost on me. She was a lawyer, her passion for justice a mirror to my own newfound appreciation for fairness and balance. Our conversations flowed effortlessly, our laughter mingling with the clinking of glasses, our connection a spark that ignited a flame I had thought extinguished. "You have a mischievous glint in your eyes, Daniel," she'd said, her smile teasing, her gaze perceptive. "Like you're a man with a secret." "A secret?" I'd echoed, raising an eyebrow. "Perhaps. Or perhaps I'm just a man who has learned to appreciate the value of a second chance." She'd smiled then, a knowing smile that spoke volumes. And in that moment, I knew I had found something special, something real, something worth cherishing. The past, with its pain and betrayal, was a fading scar, a reminder of the lessons learned, the strength gained, the resilience forged in the fires of adversity. Sophia, the woman who had once held my heart captive, was a ghost, a shadow flitting through the corridors of my memory, her presence no longer a source of pain, but a reminder of how far I had come. The Maldives, the honeymoon suite, the betrayal, it was all a distant echo, a catalyst for a transformation I hadn't anticipated, a journey that had led me to a place of greater understanding, greater self-awareness, greater appreciation for the simple joys of life. I had emerged from the ashes of my broken marriage, a phoenix reborn, stronger, wiser, more resilient. I had learned the true meaning of love, the value of loyalty, the importance of self-respect. And as I looked out at the city lights, the future stretched before me, a canvas of possibilities, a tapestry waiting to be woven with the threads of my newfound happiness and contentment. The journey had been long, the road winding and treacherous, but the destination, I realized, was worth every step of the way. I had found my balance, my peace, my own version of paradise, and in the quiet solitude of my heart, I whispered a silent thank you to the woman who had betrayed me, the woman who had unwittingly set me free.